Hey, I'm Richard. I'm working on getting my driver's license. This is Bill, my dad.
So to speak.
And what you have here is a letter from Jesse White saying what I have to do to get my license. It says, Secretary of State, reasonable step to make our roads safer, 50 hours of driving. And what we have to do is whenever I'm behind the wheel and a supervisor is with me,
That would be me.
we record the time. Well, what we're going to do is use a mobile app to record the time instead. So I'm going to give this to my dad. I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to give the camera also to Bill.
Very well. Okay, now
All right.
we get to the interesting part. We're going to go on a little drive, and even though I am older than I look, I'm not really his dad. But, you know, for purposes of this exercise, I can be anybody I want to be, I think. All right, let me get this, no, don't do that yet. Let me get this door firmly closed
All right.
and a seatbelt fastened.
And I've got my phone down there.
All right, I'm gonna have a phone on my knee here where it'll be right in the line with your phone. Now wait, now don't go anywhere until first of all, you're gonna want to turn on the headlights probably.
Yeah, probably want to do that. All right.
All right, so if I turn this direction, we should be seeing now
My phone.
both phones with the KarChing Prototype 2 app. And might make sense to film this from the other direction, but maybe not. Right now you'll see they are both in ready to drive mode, and we are starting out right here. We're just going to
Yep.
0 miles per hour. Here we go. And you will notice how low the gas is. Yes.
That
So-
just makes it fun.
It's a gas. So right now we're still in ready to drive mode with both of these, but we've only gone about a half a block. Now the KarChing Prototype app is set up to detect, via the miracle of Zen Drive, motion beyond a certain velocity. We think it's about 8 miles an hour or something on that order. And when it does detect such motion, it should transition from, well, there it did. Ready to drive turns to driving. Mine still hasn't caught up, but Richard's phone has taken off with driving. Mine should take off any moment.
Any moment now, but we're at a stoplight, so.
Well, yes, a stoplight does sort of tend to retard the progress or something, I think.
Yeah.
But it's got to turn green someday.
I just blow through this, but then I would be on film as doing all sorts of problematic things, and I would never get my license.
That would be very bad.
Yeah.
Most highly undesirable.
All
There,
right.
it's green. All right. Whoa, that went clunk. All right. It was a gentle clunk. It didn't fall very far.
Yep.
As you can see, it's still in driving mode, and you should be able to see the car with the animated GIF showing that the driving.
Mm.
Now we're going to go back to my phone, and now we're at a stop sign waiting for a pedestrian.
Yeah. Again, we don't want to hit the pedestrian because I'll be on film as committing a.
Whoop! Look at that. It just transitioned to driving.
All right.
So we're about now maybe 200 meters, 250 meters from starting point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Block and a half from starting point. And you will notice these two phones started about, well, a minute apart. So now what's going on is both phones are taking notes on this voyage. The acceleration, the velocity,
Hard braking.
hard braking,
Crazy turns.
yes, yanking the wheel hard over is
Speeding.
ill-advised under these circumstances, and it's also actually mapping the trip. We're going to have GPS coordinates of both the start and the stop of the trip, of course. And as you can see, we're sitting here at this stoplight because it's still, well, driving. And this is a thing about this. It will consider itself driving for quite a while if you're sitting at a stoplight. But when you finally park and get good and stationary for a good 3 or 4 or maybe 5 minutes, we've never really timed it for certainty. What are you doing, Doug?
Like at a racetrack. I'm trying to time them. Oh, you didn't hear that. Nobody heard that.
Nobody
Time
heard
the
that.
red light.
Time the red light.
There we go.
Oh, you're gonna go this way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is the interesting way. All right, so we are not taking the interesting route to a gas station or the gas station.
Or something.
If we're going to the one I thought we were going to, I don't know of an easy way to get to it. But there's always, well, you know, I mean, you can always get there from here, right? Except you can't get there from here.
Yeah.
My dad used to love that saying. So, anyway, here we have a
Long
moving
straightaway.
car, and you can see there is a, you know, there is a trip going on, and we are recording this trip on two versions of the KarChing Prototype 2 Drivers Ed version. And when we finish this trip, there will be two trips recorded, and they will agree in duration and start time, and start location and stop time, and stop location, at least within reasonable GPS errors. So,
And we have an algorithm to get them to figure out if they actually agree.
yes, there really is an algorithm. When we're not playing parent and student, we are, well, coders of a sort. We're actually physicists, but retired now on to career 3 in my case. Anyway, so we're driving along. You can see both KarChing apps still read driving, and we are trundling down the streets of Chicago here.
And I want to point out lots of starting and stopping. There are a bunch of stop signs, and you notice that this thing keeps the trip going through the whole drive.
Now, when we get to the end of this, this won't show up in the KarChing DE app, but I mean, in the records of ZenDrive, there will probably be a lot of hard brakes because of the way that this trip is being conducted.
I would call these medium brakes.
Medium brakes.
Yeah, a hard brake would be if I'd actually hit that pedestrian.
A hard brake would be if one of my bones snapped. That would be the objective of the hard brake.
Always a danger when I'm driving. Remember, I am a young driver.
I do remember that. Well, I remember a lot of things. Well, we could get to stories about the White Knuckle Express, but, well, no, maybe not. Anyway, we see here still both KarChing Drivers Ed Prototype 2 app. Both of the apps are recording the trip. This looks like this might be Ogden Avenue.
How about that?
How about that? I even know where I am. Well, I mean, I'm supposed to. I'm living in Chicago, and
You're technically the navigator, and you're the supervisor.
I'm also a native of the region of Northern Illinois, so there we have it. Oh, yes. Well, okay, so far nothing that has been done by the driver has yet frightened me. We are at another red light right now. We are entirely and completely stopped, as you can see.
And yet, ZenDrive still
And
recognizes that we're part of a drive.
ZenDrive still considers this an ongoing drive. ZenDrive is a telematics company that's powering the KarChing Prototype app. And our whole objective in building KarChing was to make a safer road for teen drivers, new drivers. Certainly we've got our little Secretary of State form here that we can fill out and send to the state, and you know, account for 50 hours of driving, some of it after dark. All of this will be listed as after dark because the phones know what time it is, and as you can see, it's actually very dark out because it's well, we're past 21 o'clock. I don't think we're past 22 yet. 21:41 is what it says on my phone. So that's 9 p.m. for those of you that like confusing time, 21. Anyway, so we are driving along, and the drives are still being recorded. And they will continue to be recorded until we reach a prolonged and profound stop.
And I was thinking, we seem to have a couple of miles. I was thinking maybe we do that at this gas station, because normally we would be...
That looks like a juicy target, doesn't it? Well, that's
Yeah.
a juicy
Well,
target.
let's do this one, too.
Well,
All right.
I mean, there's gas stations here. There's something about clustering like businesses together.
Yeah.
It's something they teach,
Open? Yeah, it's open.
business school or something like that.
Yeah, it says open. All right.
All right,
So-
you do realize that is the side where yes, good.
All right.
All
So
right.
I'm going to put this car in park. I'm going to fuel this.
And
my plan is
I'm going to just sit here and show you how this slowly stops
Yep.
driving. Well, I'll also show you how. Get on out, and we can
Yeah, we
start
gotta-
the fueling procedure. Now, you're going to go inside, or you're going to
Oh, I got it.
you're going to risk the credit
I
card
got-
skimmers?
I got it.
He's going to risk the credit card skimmers. They do this in Chicago. If you put your credit card into a poisoned gas pump, suddenly they have your data, and the next thing you know, you're getting several $100s of purchases from several hundred miles away in another state. There we go. He's standing in front of the gas pump, putting the credit card in. And as you can see right now, the KarChing Prototype 2 thinks we're still driving, but we've only been stopped for, what, about 60 seconds or something like that? Somewhere someone is listening to this with a stopwatch, so I'm sure you are able to time this if you wish to. But after a short period of time, where short may mean like 4 minutes or 5, both of these should go from driving mode into ready to drive mode. That will indicate the completion of the trip, and it will indicate that KarChing Prototype is now ready to start another trip. So, I hear the sound of gas flowing. This might take a while. The tank was mostly empty, so that's good, because we don't have any great hurry here. Now, ideally, you saw how close together these started. They were like 40 seconds apart, and maybe a block and a half apart, a couple 100 meters apart, something on that order. And what we should notice is that they will probably both stop within about 60 seconds of each other. And when we do get the data out of the end of it, the GPS coordinates are probably going to agree pretty closely. So we'll see. But here we go. Richard is still dealing with the fueling, as you can see. And we're still filming driving. But we've been stopped now for maybe 2 minutes. Now, see, this is getting to the point where there wouldn't be a red light this long. It just, couldn't happen. Well, no, I take that back. But it wouldn't happen around here. There are plenty of places that are messed up, I'm sure. Okay, well, we're still in driving mode, so we're just going to sort of sit here for a while.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
sit and
chill
wait.
out.
Yep.
And, chilling out is good. I mean, if you wanted, you could turn the car on and creep into that parking spot, but it looks like this place is
Oh,
particularly
this is dead.
particularly unbusy. As you can see, things are looking really kind of dead at this gas station. But, as I said, it's like a quarter of 22, so... And it's a weeknight, so people aren't, ready to party at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So, both KarChing Prototype apps still read as driving, and we will be checking on them periodically every few seconds.
It looks like I need 10 hours of nighttime driving, at least.
10 hours of nighttime driving, and
And
is
50
it
total.
40 hours of daytime then?
No, it just says 50 behind the wheel practice time, including 10 of night. So I could have more than 10 of night.
I suppose that's true.
Which,
in fact,
looks-
you could probably have all night driving the way they phrased it.
Yeah. So
Which-
that's the difference between this, and it's not clear that,
Well, yeah, we seem to recall Texas had different requirements. All the states seem to have different
Yep.
requirements, and
Yep.
that's. This is why we're going to turn this all into a PDF so that you can print it and take it to your state driving board or your county's branch of the state driving agency or whatever
Yep.
it's called.
yeah. So I mean, this is nice. This letter from Jesse White. There's
Yeah,
a chart
so
on.
this
There's a
is
chart
a
on it.
copy
This
of the,
chart is designed solely for your convenience as a means to ensure your teen, that's me, has completed the required 50 hours of practice driving.
Yes, and you see the beautiful seal of the state of Illinois. On
State of Illinois. Thank you,
top.
Illinois.
My native
Mhm.
abode. Yes. Well, indeed. So, we have finished fueling up about a minute ago, minute and a half ago. Oops, look at that. One of them just stopped. It's now gone from driving back to ready to drive.
Yep.
And this is the result of being sufficiently stationary for sufficiently long.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one on the right has recorded its trip has ended.
Yep.
Now,
Oh, there we
I was
go.
about to say, sometime within we expect the next 60 seconds, the other one should join it. But it was even less than 60 seconds.
All right.
So, are we ready to start another trip?
Yep.
We'll go-
I'm ready to go.
All right, we're gonna go on another voyage here.
All right.
We're going to drive back out into the Chicago night
Mm-hmm.
and leave this rather deserted gas station in its deserted condition.
Dark and stormy night gas station.
We go back to the close-up of the KarChing apps, and of course they're both sitting in ready to drive mode.
Right.
But that's kind of because the speed is 1 mile an
Yeah,
hour right
I
now.
think if I was driving like this all night, we would never see these things go on. But
no.
I also don't think this counts as driving as far as those 50 hours.
Well, the 1 mile an hour thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, an Olympic sprinter maybe could sort of fool this thing into believing a drive had gone on even after getting out of the car, but probably not for very long because sprinters they sprint. And
Yeah.
Sprinting is sort of, there's no 100-mile dash.
Right.
Although, when I was in high school growing up, I felt like the PE teacher wanted us to do the 100-mile dash, but
Yeah.
that's another story.
Mm-hmm.
He was rather a running fanatic. This was a long time ago. Back to the KarChing. Views.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both still in ready to drive.
Yep.
And we are less than a block away from the gas station, and we are sitting at a red light right now.
Oh, but we got one that's
But one just started. One just started.
Yep.
So it's detected probably that there was more than 8 miles an hour.
By the way, ZenDrive does cache all the results and save them on the phone. So even if you're out of cell phone range, it will save things until it is connected, and it's going to save this whole trip. So if it figures out after driving a few blocks that you've been driving, it's gonna adjust accordingly.
So it's using a combination of velocity that it measures and GPS. Well, GPS is how it's measuring velocity, I should think, unless it's doing
An
it from-
accelerometer.
Well, unless it's doing it from the accelerometer, but to measure the velocity from the accelerometer alone, that would be tricky. I mean, you could do it, but it's got to be very well calibrated. I bet there are phones with accelerometers that are good enough to get that pretty much accurate, but right now we're not doing an accelerometer test, so to speak. We're just driving along, seeing if we can get the other one to start driving. We've gone about 3 blocks now. Just sat through another stoplight, and this is a stop sign. And there go the Chicago police. Well, fortunately, I'm not driving, so I can hold the cell phone in my hands all I want. So, even if the police see me holding a cell phone, they're probably just going to shrug and say, some weirdo is filming something. No, driving. Still driving. Now KarChing thinks we're driving. Still driving. Here it is. There it is. Here we go. And as you can see, there's a fair bit of velocity here. But when you get far enough away and you get up to enough speed, the drives will record as valid. And of course, our matching algorithm that makes sure that the drives are cotemporaneous is, it has a few seconds and a few 100 meters a give in it in terms of what it considers a matched drive.
We've carefully analyzed hundreds of drives in order to fine-tune our algorithm to make sure that...
The more realistic point is that nobody's going to be living without their cell phone for an hour. I mean, and if the trips are, not in sync, it's, not going to happen. All right, so we're at one of these wonderful, can you see, it's a Chicago 6-way intersection where the traffic lights are primarily designed as decoration. And we are at this red light, perfectly stopped, but it still reads as driving because, it's a stoplight length of stop. And so it's just turned green on us. I'm going to take one of these soft right things. And
hard acceleration.
Hard acceleration. Wow, yes, I can feel the G's. So I guess we're going to take this thing back to its preferred spot in the preferred garage.
Yeah, we're going to park it.
We can do that. You have that parking card, right?
I think you sat on it, but never mind.
Well, I was trying to sit on it, but I thought you got it out of the way before I did that. It's not clear. It's probably under me.
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, yeah, I thought you got it out of the way before I sat on it.
Gosh, this car does not have enough trees in it.
Well, I mean,
3 trees?
Only
three.
Only 3. So we're in another stop sign, and it still records us as driving.
Stoplight, yeah.
Stoplight. That's right. There goes a bicyclist. Still records us as driving because this is not a major trip-ending sized stop. And when we do get to the major trip-ending sized stop, which should be in the parking garage, which is just out of sight, if you, well, I won't point it out because you can't really see it from there. But again, both apps still driving. But we'll be within sight of this parking garage in a while. But I still won't give you a view of it because it's just, well, it's a parking garage. It's not very lovely. Of course, then neither am I. So back to the KarChing apps. And that is almost ready to cycle green. This is a short light, when the green light shows up. There's get enough time for 2 cars to clear through it. There we go. 1 car, 2 cars. It hasn't turned yellow yet. I think it turned yellow just as we got under it. It's a very short light.
All right, sharp turn.
And here comes the parking garage. The beautiful, lovely, scenic, spectacular parking garage, I might add. We see here the entrance of a parking garage. That very much looks like an entrance to a parking garage. I don't think you can mistake it for anything else. And we are still driving. So we're gonna head up to our traditional parking spot for this car, which is the 5th floor. We're renting this car out on Get Around.
So if you're ever in downtown Chicago, be sure and install the Get Around app and rent out
our
lovely old beater.
Yes, a lovely old beater, Honda Civic 2010. Our little corporation does many things. One of them is that we, tinker around with the KarChing prototype, and another one is we rent out cars on ZenDrive, and we also run a pocket-sized ISP and do the IT for a nail salon, and there's all kinds of projects. I mean, why not stay busy? And as I said, we're both ex-physicists, so I mean, physics is good training for anything, maybe except singing. which is good because I'm a terrible singer. But you have to learn how to do all kinds of things. I even had to drive a truck for a little while when we were transporting equipment interstate. That one phone just fell.
Uh-oh.
But I can pick it back up and put it on one knee. See, this is this hard braking thing, and this one has gone back to. All right, I can take it out of. I can take it out of sleep mode with that little trick. And now we have again both phones.
All right, and I'm about to park.
As you can see, we're at 8 miles an hour, and we're about to park. Now we're at 2 miles an hour. Now we're sitting at 0, and we're going to sit here until such time as both apps stop, which should be, well, relatively shortly. You might want to turn that headlight out too. Yeah, you know, I don't like this jump battery thing. It's, you know, I don't know, the battery jump exercise gets very old. So we have this one driving,
Still driving.
and we have here Richard with the paperwork and the receipt.
Yep, and I'm not going to make an entry here because we believe that we're going to have an online entry.
We're going to have something that we can print up as a PDF. And this entire form over here we are hoping to make obsolete. This is very much, 19th century technology, paper, pencil. They had pencils in the 19th century. They weren't as good as our modern pencils. They did not have ballpoint pens then, but I mean, they had the quill pens. I think they had primitive pencils even as far back as the 15th century, but they were probably pretty terrible. So, we are still observing driving going on both phones.
It'll cut out soon enough.
Oh, yes. Well, we haven't been here long enough for us to put you to sleep yet with our sort of strange meanderings of the verbal fashion. I don't know. I don't think we make a very good pair of sportscasters or anything like that, but...
Yeah. Yeah, this says that too many young novice drivers are killed or injured in motor vehicle crashes. Such crashes are the leading cause of death for people ages 15 to 20.
And you know that smartphone usage while you're driving is a very good way to up your probability of being in one of those crashes. It's a great way to improve your odds of a really bad situation almost to certainty.
State law requiring 50 hours of practice driving, 10 of which must be done at night, will help give young people more experience behind the wheel in a variety of situations, helping them become better drivers.
Now, hopefully, when this is all done, we can screen this video, and these will be something other than completely white, glaring screens that,
With little driving cars.
Yeah, well, there's motion going on. I think you can see that no matter how bad the screen is overlit. But I don't know the capabilities of this phone's camera. You should know. It's your phone.
We're gonna. By the way, we're going to have an addendum to this video where we actually look at the website, and you will see that all of these hours will be recorded as nighttime hours because we know where the phone is. And we know what time it is, and so we know whether it's day or night.
Meaning we know where the sun is too. It's that
it's below us.
Never mind.
Below
yeah,
us.
Well, more that. It's not very far below the horizon. It's not. It won't be straight under us. There one stopped. So now the other one should be getting ready to stop any moment now. We're not near midnight. The sun is not really under us so much as just over the horizon. So I'm guessing this should stop within 60 seconds, given that one just stopped a few seconds ago. And of course, they're going to have very similar GPS results for start and end of trip too.
Yep. And, you know,
There we go. There we go. They've both stopped.
All
So
right.
at this point, I think we're going to go conclude this and edit this and
Yep. Time to hit
addendum
the
things.
hit the
Yes,
red
go ahead.